Alright, so continuing with the Anatomy of Community series that we're doing on this channel, I am very happy that we have the opportunity to talk about a really cool community that I'm a part of, and that's the wedding party. And for those of you who don't know, the wedding party is what Glen and Yvette Henry call their community on the How Married Are You podcast. Glen is belief in fatherhood, who like does a lot of videos about fatherhood. He does a lot of videos about telling visual stories about his experiences as a father, learning to become a father, growing his kids, his wife, his marriage, like the whole thing, growing a business, learning how to take care of his responsibilities and everything. And his podcast with his wife Yvette has been like, it's definitely been every Tuesday. I'm definitely like tapping in. It's been one of like those videos, those channels I constantly watch. But yeah, man, I've been watching them a lot, and the impact that they've had on my life has been, and especially on my perception about family, marriage, parenting, fatherhood, and just that whole thing has been like, I can't even put it into words, honestly. So yeah, it wouldn't be, it's only right that I do a video and I explore that and talk about it. So as we did the last time, I have a couple of questions that I asked ChatGPT. I just made us to do like 10 questions, and we're just gonna like go straight into them. The 10 questions. Let me come a bit closer. Alright. First question is, what first drew you to Glen and Yvette Henry and their How Married Are You podcast? They did an episode, I believe it might have been episode 100 or 99, or one of them, but it was a video it said, it was titled something like, we almost got a divorce, or we had to end this, or this podcast got a little heated, or something along those lines. And in the podcast, they were basically explaining a situation that happened where Yvette and Glen, after going to therapy, had a bit of a disagreement, and that led to Yvette leaving. And she turned off her location, she turned off everything, and she just left. And they were basically just talking about that, and you could see, and one thing that made that episode really impactful was that you could see that this was a situation that was very fresh. Like, this is something that was actively happening in their marriage and in their lives, and that sort of transparency and that like rawness was like, whoa. It felt at some points like I was eavesdropping on like a private conversation at times, and that episode left a big impression on me, and I kept following them. I kept watching a few more episodes, and thank God it never got to those levels again. But what it has grown to now, it is such a beautiful community, and it's such what they have built in that podcast is such a beautiful form of like community. And so I've really been impressed by how cool that they've created that environment, and how they've really been they're transparent but also like honest about like the realities of marriage, which has been really cool and eye-opening for me, honestly. So yeah, that's what drew me to their podcast. Then question number 2 says, before engaging with their content, what were your perceptions of marriage, parenting, and family, and how have they shifted since? So before, my perceptions of marriage came from the people around me, aka my parents, and our family friends. And obviously these are people who are older, I would say. Obviously they're older, but like of an older generation, and they are people who are from a different time. They obviously didn't grow up on the internet, etc. So like my parents were more traditional than they were traditional. So that was my perception of marriage. And in terms of parenting, same thing, very traditional. Father goes to work, blah blah blah. Mom is usually like at home, or she has a business, something small, but she's the one who takes care of a lot of like cooking and cleaning and all of that. Yeah, that was family. So basically the traditional the responsibilities that you think of a family, that was my perception. And then how have they shifted since? They've shifted drastically. I think that the impact that Glen and Yvette have had on me is like I have been able to witness a marriage which is very, very challenging in terms of how expressive and how open they've been. And for me, looking at it, it goes against a lot of like the 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 images of like strong black marriages. It's like whoa, like traditional marriages. It is like it has taken me aback, and it has made me like reshape what I think a marriage is and what it should be in terms of like how vulnerable and how soft and how like expressive the man is in the marriage, especially because Glenn is very like good at that in terms of like being able to communicate with Yvette and allowing himself to be weak and a lot of times, and allowing that space for them to like they both know they're both aware of their weaknesses, and they're not afraid to like to sit in those. And so for me, the perception for how it has changed my perception on marriage and parenting and family, it is just like it has beautifully challenged me. I would say beautifully challenged me. I think that's a perfect description. It has beautifully challenged me to really like also go back to like challenging maybe bad ways of thinking that I had. And yeah, so I think that's been a way that has shifted my perception. And then question number 3. Glenn often emphasizes the role of a man in leading with vulnerability and love. How is his example influence your perspective on manhood and fatherhood? Basically, literally what we were speaking about before, but the way that he's approached his manhood and fatherhood in terms of like visually by us being able to see his mistakes, to see his failures, to see his growths, to see how like we can go back and look at the old videos and see him like actively learning how to be a good father. And that has been a big influence, because I think for me, obviously, because I never saw that from my dad. When I look at my dad, I look at this guy and it's like, he is perfect. Like, he has taken 3 kids through school, university, life. Like, he is, and taking care of people back home and taking care of shit I don't even know about. So it's like, there's so much, he is like a giant to me. And so I think a big reason why Glen has had a bit impact on me is because I think because I'm a bit older, I'm able to like see like, oh, you're not going to wake up one day and be your dad. You're going to have to go through a learning curve. You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to take steps. You're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have to like, try and fail and try and lean on your partner. And this the dog days basically of like you having to actually do it. I think the biggest influence on my perspective is like, you don't just end up in the where like people like my dad and Glenn are. You have to grow into it. So that's been the biggest shift. And then Yvette, question number 4. Yvette speaks candidly about the realities of motherhood and partnership. What lessons from her honesty have resonated with you the most? Ooh, I love this question. Yvette is so amazing. I would say that her what was the question? What has resonated with me the most? The ways that men can, what is that thing called? It's called weaponizing competence. I think that a lot of what she speaks about and a lot of like the challenges that she has spoken about in her marriage, I think that for me, how I've resonated with it is like, I don't want to ever put my wife in a position where she feels that I'm not an equal partner, or I'm not someone who she can rely on, or I'm not someone who is like, even though I may not be able to execute on every plan, but she doesn't feel like I'm not, like I don't have a plan and I'm not caring about her. And I think for me that I would always love to be in a position when Yvette speaks about like mother and partnership, I would always love to be in a position where she feels like she, not Yvette, but where my partner can feel like I am someone who's going to try. I'm going to give 100%. It may not come off well, it may not be perfect, but she will never have an opportunity to be like, I wish he would do this, or something else is like, does she have the opportunity, does she feel comfortable enough to come to me and be like, hey, I need help here? And I think that's also something else. I also never want to be in a position where she feels like she's alone in this. And I think that one of the things that I've really resonated with Yvette in her journey with motherhood is like, and partnership, is that she feels she knows that she can rely on, she can trust Glen, and that trust is built over time. And so similarly to me, I really would love to do that for my partner in terms of like making sure that she at least knows that if I'm not able to do something, she can ask for it. If I'm not doing something, she can ask for it. If I'm not doing something, she can challenge me. She can be like, her voice is not going to be, like pushed to the side. So yeah, that's what I would say based in terms of like what has resonated with me the most. And then question number 5. Their transparency about struggles in marriage is a key part of their storytelling. True. How has their willingness to share the messy parts helped you to rethink what a healthy marriage looks like? Wow. It has definitely allowed me to have a sober mind in terms of like what marriage is. I've only been in one relationship and it ended after 3 months, and I think that how Glen, and if I were to look back and with the information that I've learned from Glen and Yvette, I would say that I would not be scared of bad moments. I feel like one of the ways that I've struggled the most is that I've shied away from messy moments. I've shied away from messy conversations, from conversations where maybe my feelings would get hurt, or I would have to like own up to some shit that I did that was wrong, and or maybe I made a mistake and I'd have to be like, I'm sorry. And I feel like their marriage has really like given me the confidence to be like, hey, we're gonna have messy parts, and that's a part of it. It doesn't mean that I'm less committed to you. It just means that it means I'm actually more committed because I want us to change. I want us to like work on this together. It means that we're a team. And so it definitely helped me to rethink what a healthy marriage looks like, because for me, for so long, I was so afraid of things not looking perfect. And if any chinks in the armor showed, I had a very unhealthy mindset that led me to spiral a lot of times. And so how Glen Yvette have ended up like impacted me in terms of like showing me their messy parts of their marriages, how that is good. Like that's a good part. That is like like when you get a scar, like when you get a wound, the scar is a good thing because it means that your body is like is basically coming back together. It's like healing. So I wouldn't be afraid of having those their messy relationship, not their messy relationship, their messy conversations, and highlighting that and their experiences have really helped me to be more comfortable with my, hopefully potentially my own messy situations that will happen. So yeah. Alright, and then question number 6 says, in what ways has How Married Are You challenged cultural or community stereotypes about marriage and family? And I think for me, when I think about this question, my mind immediately goes to my own stereotypes, and that was surrounding family. I think that it challenged my notion of what a father is, or how a father can relate to children. And especially seeing how Glen, like, his relationship with his kids, seeing how he is, how he talks to them, the emotional awareness that he brings to their conversations. And I think that for me, he really challenged me in terms of like, because I think for me, what I always had like as a father is like, there's always that emotional disconnect that I had between a father and a kid. And I think that's something a lot of like maybe males have, you know. And I think that Glenn definitely challenged me to really think about challenging those stereotypes in my mind. So yeah, that's the first part. And then the second part was about marriage. I think it was for me, I think it was just about service. I think that I never understood what service meant, like in a marriage. And I think one of the things is like Glenn has helped me to really understand what service to his wife means, from like the big things to also the small things. Like he on the last episode, the How Married Are You, like the segment, he was like, Yvette asked him to like feed her like sushi, and like he did it. And like there were like those tiny moments of service are things that have really allowed me to like challenge my own stereotypes, and it really helped me to kind of like reshape the way I look at service in a marriage, and specifically as a man, because it's the financial part of it is always like that's been talked about forever, that's kind of like ingrained in a lot of guys. But like the emotional, the patience, the long suffering, the kindness, the gentleness, that type of stuff has really um yeah, that type of stuff has really challenged my way of thinking about marriage. And then question number 7. Can you share a specific moment, episode, or story from their lives that impacted you personally or changed how you view relationships? Ooh. Um I think this has to be an episode that they did on when they left the farm. They did an episode quite recently when they moved to their new place, and there was no question, and they were just speaking about their lives. They were speaking about their community. They were speaking about family. They were speaking about the journey, the changes that were happening. And it was one of, they had these beautiful moments where like part of the podcast feels so like you're just watching them talk, which is the sign of a really good podcast. But you're just watching them talk, and you're hearing how Glenn is very like attentive, and he's very aware of his wife, and he's very um and he's really like keyed in on her. And Yvette, at the same time, you can see how she's really also attentive to him, and there's this beautiful connection that they have to each other. And um they have like these moments of just like laughter, or these moments of reflection, and it is very beautiful how they create space for each other. I don't know what episode number it is, but in that episode I just remember like what I left with was they created space for each other, and for me that was so powerful, because it just like it reshaped the way that I was like thinking about it, like, you know, how I can do better as a partner, basically. Yeah, and then question number 8. How has watching Glenn and Yvette navigate both marriage and parenting inspired you in your own journey as a young man considering family life? Wow, how is watching it? I think it made it more accessible. I feel like Glenn and Yvette have done an incredible job in not sugarcoating anything, and not holding any punches in terms of like the realities of marriage and how hard it is. And even in the difficulty of it, it has never been in a way that it like discourages, but it is always done in this hopeful way, in this moment where it's like their lives are evidence of how, if you are committed enough to your partner, good things are going to happen. God is going to be faithful. God will carry you through those seasons of like difficulty. And so for me as a young man considering family life, I'm 23 now. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't know. I don't know if I'll have a wife. I don't know if I'll have kids. I don't know. But I know that wherever God takes me, I'm confident in being able to go into that situation feeling a bit more like, okay, I know it's not going to be as I'm not going with like, what's that, rose tinted glasses. Like, I'm a bit more aware of the challenges, and obviously I have my own personal situations, but I'm more aware and I'm more comfortable with the difficulties of what may come about, and I'm also more confident in being able to create situations that birth life and that birth like beautiful moments, and that create space for me and my partner and kids potentially. So I feel like they have made me feel like family life for me as a person, with all my flaws and everything, is still accessible, which is really cool. And then question number 9 is, their platform blends faith, family, and creativity. How has this intersection encouraged you to live out your own values? Ooh, interesting. Wow. Encourages my own values. I think that it has encouraged me to live out my own values in terms of like me becoming more confident in myself, me becoming more confident in the fact that the person who I am now is not for everyone. It's for that one person. And so going through breakups, going through rejection, going through, you know, liking someone and it not working out, I'm able to now like live out my own values, because I realize that their rejection is like, it has, not that it doesn't have anything to do with me, but like it's based on them, but it doesn't mean that I have to change myself. I think that what I got lost in before was the fact that, or very recently actually, was that the rejection that I experienced was, I was using it as like a stick to beat myself in, to like reshape myself, to like want to, you know, mold myself into what those other ladies would have wanted. Or maybe I'm like, oh man, maybe if she doesn't want me, that means no one wants me, so I need to change myself. And so the way that their platform has really encouraged originality and like authenticity in self has really encouraged me to be like, the way that I am, not that I can't improve, but it's what is the heart of that improvement? What is the heart of my expression? And if the heart of my expression is I'm being myself, then cool. Then that is all, and that's good. If the heart of my change is like, I feel like I could be better, I could be a better service to my friends, to my family, to my partner, to whatever that is, then that is beautiful. So like I've really like changed where my desire to change comes from, and the desire to like live out my values come from, because it's no longer about what other people want, but it's now what I am doing, what I would like, and what I am reasoning to be better for me and not anyone else. And so it has really made me confident in myself and in me making my own decisions, making decisions and living out my own expression, basically. Hope that makes sense. And then, question number 10. If you had a chance to sit with Glen and Yvette, what would you thank them for? Or what question would you ask them about building a marriage and family that lasts? Ooh. If I had the chance, wow, I would thank them for, first of all, just simply, I think one of the simple things is just letting us in, like opening the door to us, and never making us feel like a burden, like never making us feel like, I have to do this video, or, and also never compromising on themselves. Like, I would thank them for, like, I've never felt that Glen and Yvette, especially Yvette, is like ever like doing, because she has such a beautiful personality. Like, I've never felt like they're doing anything for views or anything. It's always been so authentic, and so I'd really thank them for their authenticity and how amazing they are. And I'll thank Glenn for taking that risk, for being true to the vision, and his dedication to the craft and his growth as well. like wow, I would definitely thank them for just like for being themselves, for and not just them but also Theo, Giraya, Anaya, and Uzi. I would thank all of them for just being themselves. Like that is honestly what I would thank them for, and allowing us in. Yeah. Yeah. And then one question you asked me about building a marriage and a family that lasts. Wow. I would ask them. I would ask them about marriage. I would ask them, how do you become very how do you become comfortable? I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, so I feel like when I think about a relationship, I struggle with making mistakes. And so how do you feel like and I know that like when you get into a marriage, you're like everything about you is like accentuated. So you know your strengths are accentuated but also your flaws are accentuated, and for me that's kind of difficult. So how do you become comfortable with being weak and you know having your flaws be known, and you know yeah, so how do you become comfortable with that in whatever that looks like, from yeah, from everything. Yeah, how do you become comfortable with that? That's what I would ask them, for Glen and Yvette, for both. Yeah. And then and a family, and how do, about build a question about family. Wow, how do you because I similarly would love to have like 4 kids. That would be like the dream, having 4 kids. um so how do you create space for, obviously it's hard, but how do you create space for each child to feel that they are a part of the family? Like how do you prevent, because you're only two and you have 4 kids, so how do you like, or even like individually you're only one person and you have 4 kids and you only have 24 hours in a day, so how do you like, how, what are some things that you have learned to like make each child feel special and to feel aware that they are loved, that not just because they are part but also because individually they're also loved? So how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that in a big family? How do you navigate loving each person individually, not just like within the group? Yeah. Yeah. And particularly like emotionally, I think that's what I'm also asking, like emotionally, how do you connect with each of them, not necessarily through like, yeah, how do you connect with them emotionally as well? Yeah, because I think that's a key to like building a family that lasts. Yeah. And yeah, so that's the question I'd ask. Yeah, those are all the questions. So yeah, thank you so much. This has been super fun. It's always fun. I love these anatomy of community videos because they really allow me to like reflect on a lot of the YouTube family that I, not fam, no, these are family that I've been able to subscribe to and have the privilege of like following. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for however you've consumed this content. Thank you so much. And yeah, I will see you guys somewhere, somehow on one of these channels. Most probably, I'll see you guys on the Casual Collective tomorrow. So, see you guys then. Peace.